Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Joffrey Noodle Legs here today with another Noodle film review. Today we are looking at the Ghost Galleon. Now this is a Spanish 1970s horror, and this film sort of starts off with these sort of models in like a studio being taken a photo of by this woman. And the real horror of the film is the woman's trousers. They're horrendous. And they're all taking photos of these models, and we get sort of various sort of clips of that in different sort of standing different sort of poses and all this sort of thing. And then after the photo shoot, one of the models goes up to the woman who's like doing the sort of the photographs, and asks where her friend Catherine is. Catherine is her flatmate, I believe, and she's gone missing. She hasn't seen her for a while, but she knows she's also probably one of the models, and she knows that this woman knows where she is. So she's pressing hard onto this woman to tell her where she is, saying, well, if you don't tell me, I'm going to contact the police. So she goes, well, she's on a sort of secret mission, doing this kind of like secret sort of promotion sort of thing that's going to bring her big fame and money. And she goes, well, I don't believe any of this. Well, she would have told me all this sort of thing. And the woman goes, well, if you don't believe me, then meet me tonight at the harbour in Bay 3, as you do, and I'll explain more. So this blonde girl decides to do that. So then we cut to the harbour, and we're at Bay 3 at the harbour, and the woman drives up there in her car, and the blonde girl's already waiting for her there. And she goes, oh, I bet you didn't expect me to be early. What's that about? Anyway, so they're at this sort of warehouse sort of thing. Anyway, the woman goes in and says, oh, you're not going to come in. So she follows her in, and then they meet up with a guy there, and he sort of explains that, yeah, she's out on a boat. They're on doing this sort of special promotion thing. They're supposed to be stranded at the sea, and it's going to be like a big sort of headlines, and then they get found and all this sort of thing. So anyway, all this sort of cock and ball story going on, and then another chap joins them, and you might recognise the guy here. He starred in Pieces. He was one of the teachers there in Pieces. And they start talking about that they're out on this boat and that they're perfectly safe. They can get a helicopter to them if they want. And whilst this is going on, this jibber jabber, the guy hears this chat coming over the radio, and it's the girls on the boat, and they're saying that they feel a bit lost and stranded. So there's big mist and fog's coming in, and we see them on the boat, and they've got all this sort of fog and mist sort of all over, sort of like around the boat, and they can't see very well, and they're very like just dressed in shirts and bikinis. And whilst the guys are sort of communicating with us, so we'll send someone out to find you and bring you back, sort of thing. One of them spots a boat approaching, and it's an old sort of galleon ship in the distance. But it looks, and it seems to be appearing out of the fog, out of nowhere. And it's getting closer and closer to them, and they're getting worried. And the guy said, "Well, send your flare up." And I thought, "What? Your flare trousers?" So she shoots this flare up in the air, and it doesn't do anything. And the ship still keeps approaching, and then the ship bangs into them, and then their boat starts to fill up with water. So now that they're sort of straddled along this sort of weird sort of galleon ship, and one of the girls decides that she's going to board and have a look because it looks like it's deserted. So she flings this hook, like an anchor, which just so happens to be strapped to like one of these sort of like rope ladders, and she sort of climbs aboard the galleon ship. And then we have a little look on the galleon ship, and it looks really eerie and quite spooky. And there is a lot of sort of mist and fog on the screen, which I think helps to really create the atmosphere. and it was just like, and she's sort of like on there, and she decides to have a little search about. So she turns on a torch that she's got in her bag, and it's quite cool because you hear a lot of creakiness of the boat, and it's really quite eerie and quite cool. And she starts walking around while the other girl stays down on the sort of their little speedboat. And back at um, the thing, they're still trying to contact them, and they said they're going to send a helicopter out to look for them. And back at the galleon, the girl's now searching. She decides to go down to the gallows. So she goes down to the gallows, and the other girl decides to fall asleep, as you do. Meanwhile, while all this is going on, back at the warehouse, the blonde girl's been taken prisoner by these people, and they've sort of tied her up and put her in this room because she keeps threatening to go to tell the police, and so obviously they don't want her to. So she's been tied up. Anyway, the guy brings her some food, and she decides, he brings her some milk, and goes, I don't like milk, I want water. So he goes off to get water, which seems to be like a half a mile hike. And as he disappears to get water, she decides to escape. So she sort of hides around, sneaks around, trying to escape. She doesn't get very far. She gets to the main door, but she decides to sort of like run around in high heel boots. So she then gets heard very easily and caught and taken straight back, where the guy attempts to sort of strangle her and attempts to rape her. I don't see much of that, but you get the gist of that going on. Meanwhile, back at the boat, the other girl's still asleep, and there's some sort of screaming coming on from inside the gallows of the galleon. And the other girl sort of thinks she can hear it, but she's half asleep. And then we cut back to the warehouse, and there's like some professor there, and he starts talking to the woman who does the photography and the guy from Pieces about this Ghost Galleon. It's like a sort of mystery, and it's been seen by many sailor, and it's like if you ever see it and climb on board, you never come back alive. And they just think it was just a stupid horror sort of story, fobbing off sort of thing. So they don't believe him. And then they decide, well, we're going to go and investigate. We're going to try and find the boat. And the professor said, well, can I come with you? Because if you can find this boat, I want to see what's going on. Meanwhile, back at the galleon and the speedboat, the other girl's woken up, and she's a bit worried now because she's not heard from Catherine for a while. So she decides to board the boat herself. So she then boards the boat and starts looking for her friend. And that's all I'm going to tell you. So what is on this boat? Is it a ghost boat? Is there something more sinister on that boat? You need to watch it and find out. What do I think of Ghost Galleon? It's awesome. Absolutely brilliant. It is the third instalment of the Blind Dead collection. This is the third of the 4 films. They made 4 films. So this is the third one. And it's really, really cool. I like it because it takes a different direction to the other ones, and it's based on this a galleon boat, which I love. Galleon boats, I love old sort of pirate ships and stuff. I love it. I don't think there's enough sort of horror films based on galleons, or any. There's not enough horror pirate films really. But that's absolutely fantastic. The pluses of this, the transfer is still great. For DVD, this is Anchor Bay DVD. Absolutely fantastic. It's from my brilliant Blind Dead collection box. And it's absolutely fantastic transfer. The acting is awful, but it's cool. But because it's got some sort of faces in it that I recognise. Obviously the guy from Pieces and stuff like that, and it's been dubbed into English from Spanish, so that's quite cool. Negatives, I can't find any. Absolutely excellent film. I'm going to score this an awesome watch and give it a 9 out of 10. Brilliant film, The Ghost Galleon. If any of you guys seen it, if you have, let me know down below what you thought of it. A lot of people think it's the sort of weakest one of these Blind Dead films, but I absolutely loved it. I think because I like the different angle of it, and I just thought it was so well made. and it's just still brilliant today. It's a great horror film, and I really enjoyed it. Really eerie. It takes me right back to sort of like this sort of time when the films were made, and it's just brilliant. Absolutely love it. 9 out of 10. Guys, till next time, check out other horror channels for me. Check out the Horror Geek, Man v Film, RS Designs, Pizzawell, I Am the Ice Lord, Sarah of Horror, Cat Watches Horror Movies, Grumpy Andrew's Haunted House, and a massive shout out to Lad Lemon Lord. Until next time, you look after yourselves, look after one another, and I really hope I see you all soon.